How y'all doing, beautiful people? This is another episode of the KM Mix Talk. This is blog number 10. I'm banging out 2 in one night. That's kind of how I've been doing them. You'll notice like they'll be kind of like, when they're posted like 2 at a time. And I just have been doing that to just load this blog series up with content. Once it really starts getting exposed and we really have a ton of stuff, it'll probably move to something like once a week, dedicated time and day. But for right now, it's just sporadic, just kind of fun, and it just keeps it going. I don't feel bound by nothing. But and this one is about the importance of a silent monitoring chain. That's what this blog is about. In the last blog, I talked about maximizing your tools. And trying to make incredible music with what you already have, and not blaming gear that you want and don't have, or the gear that you do have. Don't blame gear. Blame yourself. Take responsibility in the process. But I think that there are certain pieces of gear that you can improve that will definitely make your music sound better, and this one happens to be your monitoring chain. Hands down, this is more so for mixing and mastering, really just audio engineers, period. But your monitoring chain is your most important in the studio. If not your most important, it's definitely one of the most important chains in your studio. Why is that? Because I can have all of this fancy equipment, analog equipment, all of this fancy plugins and the bots and all of this stuff, but if I cannot hear what I'm doing, then it's pointless. What's the point of having the best plugin in the world, the best compressor in the world, if I can't hear what I'm doing, right? I need to be able to make accurate and wise decisions based on what I'm hearing. And so let's talk about some different pieces of a monitoring chain. Of course, you have the monitors, the speakers. Very, very subjective. I use KRK Rocket 8s, Generation 3s. I had the Generation 2s when they were out. And they're like $500 pair of speakers. And that wasn't necessarily because I could not afford more expensive speakers, but I just knew for a sound that I was looking for, I knew that I heard him in person in several studios, and I was just like, I just felt connected to him intimately. So I was like, I want these pair of speakers. And so when I moved from Yamaha, some Yamaha monitors that I had, and I moved to KRK a couple of years ago, that's what I decided to roll with. And so I know those speakers in and out, and that's another thing. Not only having a solid monitoring chain, but knowing it inside out, right? So you want to have some solid monitors that you know inside out. Some people have several sets of different monitors. That's not bad either, because you can reference on different systems to see how your mixes and your masters will translate into the real world. That can be really, really important. Good cables, right? I think good cables are very, very important, because your monitors are something that you're using constantly, and so I want to make sure that signal is being transferred to my speakers as accurately as possible. So there's all kind of great brands out there for cables, but good cables are important. Your DAC, right, which stands for digital audio conversion or converters, that's really, really important as well. In most cases, that would probably be your interface, right? For most project and home studio owners and freelance audio engineers, the DA converters, which stands for digital to audio conversion, meaning that a digital signal is being transferred out into the analog world. And that means that basically that signal in your computer is being transferred out into your speakers. So you want to have good converters. There's different ways that you can, there's dedicated DA converters, there's all kind of ways. Me, how I do it in mine is I use the SPDIF output, which is a digital signal, and I use the SPDIF out, and it goes into my monitor controller, which gives me an even clearer sound. Which my interface is fine. It's totally fine going out of the analog outputs and my interface and going into my monitor controller. It sounds perfectly fine, but it sounds even better with the DA converter in my monitor station and my monitor controller that I have. So that's real important. So your DA converters is important. Having some solid headphones. I don't really mix on headphones. I don't really recommend it, but it's not bad. It's good to reference. I think having some good headphones in the chain would be good. Also, room acoustics, right? You can't listen on bare walls. You gotta have some room treatment in your price range and your need, what you can afford. But that's really, really important. I've mixed in a treated room. I've mixed in bare walls, and I tell you, I will never mix on bare walls again. Never, ever, or master. So room treatment is possible, and there's a lot of other things that are that can be added. But I think for most people in the independent market, for most freelance audio engineers, you want to have some solid monitors, solid cables, solid headphones that you can reference, a solid interface, where, like I said, 9 out of 10 times most independent people that's where your DA converters are at. So you want to have a solid monitor, a solid interface that's going to be able to translate that signal to your monitors. And then I think a monitor controller is good as well, because it lets you, like I said, it lets you plug up different sets of speakers. It lets you have a sub, auxiliary ins and out, SPDIF. So I think a monitor controller is real important. If you can't afford one, stick with your interface. But if you can expand your monitor management from your interface, I think a monitor controller will be really, really a good investment, especially, if you're tracking as well. It's definitely needed. So sorry that wasn't the most fancy kind of way to put it, but a good monitor chain is really, really important, because if we can't make decisions off of good hearing, then it's worthless. The best equipment in the world means nothing if you can't hear it. So it's all subjective. But whatever your monitoring chain is, invest into it well in your price range. Take it seriously. That is really, really important. Along with room treatment, which is a whole nother topic for another day, but you can't divorce those two. So have a solid monitoring chain and a good listening environment, and I promise that your music will sound even better. All right, y'all.